Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from New York City, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast that makes ancient wisdom relevant today. I'm your host, Raghunath, with co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1362. I'm sitting here with Grandma Terry.
Yes. What's going on here now?
This is our morning podcast, Mom.
Yeah, wow. Tremendous. Great. All your friends are here.
Yeah, we're doing good. Came to New York to see Grandma, got in late, a little discombobulated this morning, and we're going to go pick up Mara at the airport this afternoon.
Oh, good. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Got a lot of people from all over the world joining us today, Mom. Look at all these people. That's all. Anything you want to share today, Mom? Any words of wisdom? You've lived you're 98 years old. What is your give us a nugget of truth that we can take with us for the course of the day? What have you learned? Anything wise in this lifetime? I know I put you on the spot. I know you just woke up, but
well, I'm going to go see my friends very soon.
Okay.
Going down to breakfast very soon.
Okay.
And it'll start the day.
Beautiful. Eat breakfast and see your friends. That's great, valuable advice.
Now, what is the name of her Indian friend down there, Raghunath? Remember her?
Oh, yeah. What's your Indian friend's name again? Lalita.
I want you to go spend a little time with Lalita today, Raghunath.
I'll come down to breakfast with you. I will. Me and Lalita are like
I want you to take her to the Bhakti Center.
Yeah. What do you think of my book, Mom?
I think it's tremendous. I'm very proud of you.
There, good boy.
All right.
Excellent.
I heard it. Endorsing my
mother
book.
proud.
Double it, Mom. Yeah, thank you.
Double it.
Thank you.
Raghunath, I want you to take Lalita
All
to
right.
the Bhakti Center, okay? Oh, Raghunath's really freezing up this morning. You're in New York City. How can you have such bad? You got a really bad connection there.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I've got a very bad connection today. I don't know if they have internet here. They have like a very weak internet.
Maybe you should use your hotspot.
Hotspotting from my phone.
Oh.
I am hotspotting, and my phone's like dangling outside the window to try to get the best signal ever because I'm around all these gigantic buildings.
I see. All right, Raghunath, let's move forward here, huh?
Let's dive in here. You want to share anything today, Linda? It's your last day. Maybe tomorrow you're in.
It is.
Depending on
It
Mara's
is my
jet
last.
lag.
I asked Mara today if she was ready to come back. I said I'll do it again tomorrow if you just need one day to settle in, and she said nope. I've really missed everyone, and I want to get back on Friday. So
Look at Mara.
Beautiful.
my last day with this service, and it's been great. But I'm ready to hand the reins back over to Mara.
You've done a great job. We all appreciate
Definitely.
Thank you. And
She does all kinds of stuff behind the scenes, especially. I mean.
it. Yeah, she's behind the scenes all the time.
I prefer the behind the scenes. So.
Okay.
Okay, but let me share some announcements. So we've got Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at noon, 1:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. We've got about 10 days left to get the 10% discount on Italy 2025. So if you're interested in that retreat for next year, now is the time to book because you can get 10% off. You use the discount code WOTS25 when you check out. And that gives you 10% across the cost of the whole retreat, even though you only have to put a certain deposit down in order to secure your spot. So great time to do it now. I neglected to say yesterday that session 6 of the Light on Wisdom course on our Wisdom of the Sages platform dropped.
That's right.
And is now available for all supporting members on wisdomofthesages.com. And then finally, I just want to ask a big favor to everyone. We're surveying our community to understand more about your preferences related to online learning to help us as we build Sage Academy. So if you can please take a minute, there's a post on wisdomofthesages.com that should be available for everyone. You can't miss it. It says, please help us by taking this 3-question survey. And if you could please do that today, that would be really great. We'd be very grateful, because Stupa's working really hard at building out the Sage Academy with many other people in service in regard to that, and your feedback is very helpful to us in order to make that everything that the community needs.
Maybe I can mention just quick. They've said they're already getting a lot of good responses.
Good.
And it was just posted yesterday afternoon.
Mhm.
Yeah, Raghunath and I, our goal here is there's so many, somehow through this podcast, we've connected with so many people who've taken an interest in bhakti. And but when he and I got into it, we just dove in head first. We were young. We had no responsibilities. We became monks. We had the full immersion in it. And those years and all that we learned was so important to us. Nowadays, people still have their jobs and their homes and their families and their responsibilities, but they still need to learn all the things that we learned. And so online seems to be the way to do that. We want to kind of provide everything. The Sage groups have been going strong for years now, and that's a place where you definitely learn, but it's more about like connecting, right? It's more about making friends and connecting with people and having a place to discuss and ask questions and share your experiences and so on. But the Sage Academy is our next big step, and that's going to be where you can really study. And there'll be all kind of interactive learning going on. You watch a video, then you read on your own, then you get together and discuss it in a small group, then the teacher enters the scene. Just like we're going to mix it up and try to make a powerful learning experience, even testing and stuff like that. So you can, nothing too intimidating, but so that you
Even
can really
testing
learn.
to make you very uncomfortable, like you were in school.
But in order to, we're just starting to design those courses, and we plan on launching phase 1 in September. So it's coming up fast, but we really want to hear from all of you. We want to design them in a way that really works for you, according to how much time you have, and according to how you feel you learn best, and so on. So we just have 3 simple questions there, but it'll be really helpful for us as we go into the design of the courses. So those will be launched on the Vani platform, which they're great friends of ours, and they do a really professional job with them. So it's going to be a really great chance. Please go there, go to our website, fill that out, and we'd appreciate your help with that.
All right.
All right.
That's great. Here's our nugget for the day, all right?
Who you got?
It's from Marcus Aurelius.
Okay. Get
Your
close to that.
favorite Stoic and mine.
Yeah, Stoic philosopher, Roman emperor. Please just stay close to that mic, Rogana.
I'm on it.
There you go.
There we go.
You're a
The
little
happiness-
discombobulated. I feel it, Raghunath. I feel it.
I drove in last night, tried to find a parking spot. It's,
I had a hard time.
slept on the couch, rolled
Alright.
out of bed.
Okay.
Got
But
here.
I think any minute now, once you start rolling, you'll slip into gear.
It's all going to connect.
It just connects. Yeah.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. I think I stole this one before.
Have you?
You use this, yeah. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature. Ooh, this is such a powerful one.
You like
It's such
that,
a
huh?
powerful. Well, I like it because it's all about what we're into. It's all about what we're into. It shows the real universality of, spiritual truths and just even good living. Some of the bigger hurdles in Kali Yuga culture is, meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, etc. This is big hurdles. A lot of people struggle to get over. Then when you get over them, you feel like I've done it. I can control those things, but it's not just controlling those things. Those things are just meant to help you go to this next phase, which is your thoughts, your thought process. And you can be in a religion, an ashram, go to kirtans or go to spiritual events or Sunday feasts. But if you haven't worked on that stuff and we're presenting as spiritual, we sort of like got a little duplicity going on. We could present one way, but unless we really work on the thoughts, on a regular basis, and it's hard because the ego is the ego wants to stand very, very firm and very, very strong. And once I've noticed in my life, once I get a hold on it, like now I'm doing good with my thoughts, then I'll get challenged. I'll feel like a hurt, a betrayal, a broken heart. Someone's wronged me. And then how am I going to react with that? Whenever something is really going tremendously wrong with me, I've like programmed my mind to say, oh, I get what's going on. Krishna is just picking out. It's almost like you step on. We were just in the Adriatic Sea, and there are these sea anemones, and you can just step on them, and you get like not one splinter, but you get a million of these little pokies in your foot, and it's super painful. And you got to take each one out with a tweezers. And so Krishna is doing this to us. When you're a devotee, there is nothing bad happening to you any longer. Now you're just getting refined. You're getting your thoughts refined, how to react to all those things I mentioned: heartbreak, betrayal, someone hurt you, someone cut you off, someone dismissed you as unimportant, someone publicly offended you. And we're just getting refined now. And it's really, how am I going to react to how people are treating me? And I don't even blame them for what they're doing to me any longer. I see them as directly sent by God for my purification. That's where I'm taking this one.
No, what you touched on is so important, that when it comes to the very broad practices of yoga, right? Because there's so many books on all the, and when I say yoga, don't just think asana, the postures and all that, but there's this broad tradition of yogic tradition, that's grown out of India, that it's all about, although it involves study, although it involves ritual, although it involves etiquette, although it involves meditation, it involves so many it involves culture on so many levels. Although it's so broad and vast, and is coming from different angles with different strategies, but all of it, everything in it, has to do with our thoughts, the quality of our thoughts. And when we lose touch with that, then we get lost in the externals and forget. That's called like niyamagraha, right? Niyama means the rules, and niyamagraha means I've lost touch with understanding the purpose of the rules. So I'm following them, but I'm not getting the goal of where they're meant to go, because I've disconnected. When I say rules, I mean the regulations that we have in life. I've disconnected the regulations with their purpose, which has to do with how it affects the quality of my thoughts. And so in the West, where we didn't grow up with any of this, generally when we think about improving the quality of our life, we focus immediately on the externals. Well, I need more money, I need a better house, I need a better home, I need a better partner. Okay, let's write 1 million books about how to find a better partner. Let's write 1 million books about how to make more money. Let's write 1 million books. In the East, they were writing 1 million books about how do I improve my thoughts? And it was like it was all tied into that. I remember, I was talking about how I used to sell books, publicly, on the street, the other day. And I remember once I was with this other devotee whose name was Pragosh, and Pragosh was just like, his character was just magnetic,
Sure, I remember him.
Just like a glowing positivity with sharp intelligence and a great sense of humor, and handsome guy too, right? He was just like, he was like a legend, he was just amazing person. And I remember he was one of those people that could just go out and speak with people really spontaneously and capture their minds and their hearts, and in a matter of just moments, he could draw out of them an interest in reading the Bhagavad Gita, and they'd be like, yeah, I'll take one of those, And I remember I was just watching him once, and he just started speaking to someone, and he said, we were like in a busy street, and thousands of people, the hundreds of people milling about and busy. And he said, he began to talk about the quality of our thoughts. And he was saying, this book is really all about just improving the quality of our thoughts, improving raising it up to a level of positivity, a level of spirituality. He said, imagine, and then he stopped the person. He said, look around at everybody running around. Imagine if all of them spend time every day just working on improving the quality of their thoughts. What would this world be like? You know, and the person was looking around and said, oh, it would be a whole nother world. He's like, exactly, you know, that's what we're meant to do. So we're reading all of this in the Bhagavatam now about all these, you know, when we hear them, we might feel triggered by, boy, this is rigid regulation in life. It's actually beautiful ideas. Sometimes the wording and sometimes the way it's phrased it will trigger us. We need to work through that together and try to understand what the real message is. But when we see it, it's just like you're saying, Raghunath, this is all tied to improving the quality of our thoughts. And it was really, you know, there's a lot of brilliant ideas that are shared through these books like that.
Sure.
All right. You ready to dig in?
I remember Pragosh. Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking when you were saying that too, it's like, yeah, we do our physical practice for years. We do our physical practice for years, or asana practice, but we're not doing our thought practice. We haven't even entered the doorway.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't
You're
even entered
just, yeah, you're at the doormat maybe, but
you're
the
at the
yoga mat
doormat.
is just the doormat if you're,
Yes.
you haven't entered yet.
Yeah.
Keep that mic close to you, Raghunath, though.
Okay, let me write out this
Yeah,
thing.
like that. There you go.
Alrighty. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatpujayam madhirayat. Before we said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being. Ishvabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhavati naishtiki. The heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Raghunath Prabhu.
Yeah.
I think we need to get people to turn off their pictures because you were lagging pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah. Really? It's never been that bad in your mother's house before.
No.
So I don't know if Linda knows how to shut those down. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Did you hear that or no?
Did I hear what?
Did you hear me say that? Did you
Say
hear me
what?
say? Did you hear me say Om Jnana Tamarandasya?
Yeah, but it was lagging. You know,
Okay.
it was going back and cutting in and out.
All right.
You know where we're at?
Okay. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 12, Text 10.
10. 10 is what we read yesterday, but I think I wanted to read it again. So let's hit that.
As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there's every chance that he'll fall down because of his because his intelligence is bewildered.
Okay. So a lot here in this verse, right? A lot here in this verse. First, there's this statement that that's mentioning that it says the body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses. So that's essentially what that's saying is we're in the virtual reality where we have like an avatar that's designed in such a way as a reflection. In other words, it's based on a body that exists beyond the virtual reality. So in other words, beyond the world that we live in and that we're moving through, we have senses, we have eyes, we have ears, we can perceive things, you know, we have that, but we're in kind of like an avatar body right now, moving around. And the problem is that we identify with that false body, right? So as long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, until we've really realized that this isn't me, this body isn't me, this avatar that I'm moving through is not me, it's just a temporary game I'm playing here. As long as they haven't achieved that self-realization, and as long as they're not independent of misconceptions of identifying with the body, then you can't be relieved of the conception of duality. This is good, this is bad. This is attractive, this is repulsive. This will make me happy, that won't make me happy. And the virtual reality, in one sense, all of that's meaningless. It's just different types of programming. When we self-realize, we get it.
It'll never give us what we want, what our heart actually wants. In the same way, feeding the reflection of the mirror will not feed you. If there's you in the mirror and you're trying to like spoon feed it a little peanut butter and jelly, you're not going to get satisfied.
You know what it's like, Raghunath? It's like, I've never done this and I don't know exactly what it's all about, but they have that game that everyone plays on their phone called like Candy something or something like that.
Cotton candy? No.
Cotton candy?
No, it's like candy corn or something like that.
Yeah, Candy Game or Candy Crush.
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush. How do you know that, Linda?
Because I just recently had to go through a 12-step recovery program to get off of it.
You see that? That's some pretty addictive candy right there.
It is.
But I from what it looks like from a distance, it's like you play things and then you win tons of money or something like that, right? It's like it goes
real money.
Well, that's my point. It's not. Is that what it
not
is?
Even real
like money.
I don't understand that you can win money from it, but there are many games
but
out
I
there
thought
that
it was kind of
advertise
like
that you can.
I thought it was. I don't mean in quote unquote real life.
Yeah.
I meant like in the game. Doesn't it like you kind of hit a jackpot or something and everything?
You just win a lot of points, and then you grow
points.
your tier and on the leaderboard.
So whether it's points or whether it's a game where like you win money, like or something like that, you're really not winning anything. It's just it's just more pixels on a screen. It has no value in truth. And so it can really, although we might feel a sense of satisfaction, like, oh, I just won something on Candy Crush. I just won a lot of points. You really haven't won anything. And similarly, if this world is a virtual reality, then all of the things we're saying, oh, that will give me happiness, that won't. Actually, it's not the real happiness that you're getting through it. It's still something artificial. Yeah, it won't give us what Raghunath is saying. It won't give us that Atma supersidity, that complete satisfaction of the self. It's just, and then it goes on to say that this duality, again, when you think of duality, really think this will make me happy. This external thing will make me happy. This external thing has no potential to give me happiness. That's when we're thinking in a state of duality. It phrases it in a very interesting way here. It says, this conception of duality, which is epitomized. Epitomized means what? Like you embody the character of something. You represent the character of something like to the max, right? Like most essentially. So it epitomizes the duality. It is epitomized. This duality, conception of duality, is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. This is where we have our most natural and strong conceptions of duality, right? Like, women can make me happy, men can't. Or this woman is very attractive and this one isn't. Or, it really kind of like magnifies this conception of a duality. And therefore, this culture that was so focused on the quality of our thoughts, they understood it. It's not difficult to understand, but when you're really examining your mind, you're saying, when does my mind get most caught up in conceptions of duality? Well, it's in the connection between men and women in this, okay, then let's see what we need to do. Let's see how we can regulate our lives so that we can minimize the illusory effect of that and maximize improving the quality of our thoughts.
It exasperates the illusion. It exasperates the spider web of the material world, where you go into it, you get caught. Then you go into it a little further to get it out, and then something else gets caught. Next thing you know, you're fully within that spider web.
And the opposite of duality is oneness. And what the philosophy in our lineage, in our sampradaya, the name of the philosophy is the Chinta Beda Abeda Tattva, that the understanding that that in truth, there's a oneness and there's a difference, and both are important. We need to balance them out. We need to understand them in context. Right? And Prabhupada writes about that here. You know, like in the Western religions, the Abrahamic religions, usually there's a strong emphasis on the distinction, on the difference between God and the person, right? And the soul.
Sure. God is
self.
great. He's omniscient, omnipotent, right? And we are insignificant, and everything else is mundane.
Yeah. Or God is entirely pure, and we are born into sin. Or
Right.
and the worst sin is, I think, like in Islam, it's like the worst sin, but it's definitely a big sin in Judaism. It's a big sin in Christianity.
Which one?
To worship idolatry, to worship anyone or anything that's separate from God.
Sure.
Whereas in the East, they say nothing is separate from God. Right. So I can worship this God or that God.
Monkey, tree, river, hill.
The river, the mountain, even the stone. Right.
Yeah.
So it's when you're caught in that Western mindset, you may not be able to understand it at all. But the Eastern philosophers could explain this all very rationally and with great nuance and dexterity. They could really explain how, well, if God is here, why is not God here? Isn't this the energy of God? Isn't God's consciousness infused everywhere? So why couldn't I recognize God here? And why couldn't I even recognize, in one sense, the oneness that I have with God? Because am I not made out of God's spiritual energy? And so Prabhupada writes this in the commentary. He says, until one is self-realized, fully independent of the illusory conception of the material body, the duality of man and woman must undoubtedly continue. You know, before I continue, sometimes I think both men and women, they find a sense of relief when they're in a group of just men or just women, right? It's not even like some animosity towards the other group, but it's just like there's a relief and a certain tension or pressure, you know, that's caused by that duality.
Sure.
And
if you have a bunch of guys doing a sport,
relaxed.
like when I used to do jujitsu, he's a bunch of guys doing it. Then one girl comes in, and it would change the whole dynamics of the room.
Not that it's her fault or that she's done anything
No, it's
wrong,
not her
but
fault,
it's just,
but now they have to be very it just happens. They become like self-conscious about like how they're looking, how they're presenting.
Yeah, right. Okay, so until one is self-realized, fully independent of the illusory conception of the material body, the duality of man and woman must undoubtedly continue. But when one is actually self-realized, this distinction ceases. Then he quotes a very famous verse from the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha, Panditas Samadarshana, that the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, they have this jnana, right? They're seeing the truth. They see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana. That means like the most refined member of society, right? Someone whose their thoughts and their habits and their behavior is all very sensitive and refined. They see the gentle brahmana, the cow, an elephant, a dog, and then it mentions the dog eater, which means like the less refined person, right? The person whose habits aren't so refined, who doesn't have that sensitivity. Right? So he sees them all on the equal platform. On the spiritual platform, the learned person not only gives up the duality of man and woman, but also gives up the duality of man and animal. This is the test of self-realization. One must realize perfectly that the living being is spirit soul, but is tasting, interesting way of phrasing it, but is tasting various types of material bodies, right? I'm experiencing what it's like to be in the male body. I'm experiencing what it's like to be in a female body. I'm experiencing what it's like to be in a dog body or an elephant body. One may theoretically understand this, but when one has practical realization, then they become a pandita, one who knows. Until that time, the duality continues and the conception of man and woman also continues. In this stage, one should be extremely careful about mixing with women. Now, of course, Prabhupada's saying this in the context of the brahmachari, the male young monk in a certain stage of training. But he's saying, especially when you're young and the hormones are running wild and you're meant to be learning, let's be careful about how we mix the opposite sexes. Very interesting, huh?
It also another thing. I mean, you could really tease this whole thing apart. Whenever there's that mood of trying to say impress the opposite sex,
Yeah.
violence can really come in as well too. Then you get into my ego versus his ego, both trying to impress her, and that becomes a whole thing in itself
Right.
as well. So it's like, what again? You're getting caught deeper and deeper into the glue trap of
Oh,
illusion.
yeah, it's because duality means, again, this will make me happy and that won't make me happy. And because the duality between man and woman epitomizes it, it's like it's just the stakes have been risen up. Like, in other words, I'm convinced that this girl is my ticket to happiness and this other guy's competing with me for her.
So now I got to take him down, show him that I'm better. He's thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And then we've got like a whole little mini war on our hands.
Yeah,
People taking
and
sides.
same with the woman who's thinking that man is my ticket to happiness, and then then she's feeling the tension and scheming and so on. So yeah, it definitely raises the stakes.
Ah.
All right.
All right.
Text 11.
Text 11. All the rules and regulations apply equally to the householder and the sannyasi, the one who's given up everything, the member of the renounced order of life. The grihasta, the one who has a home and a family, however, is given permission by the spiritual master to indulge in sex during the period favorable for procreation.
Okay. So this is a time in life where they say, okay, we're not saying men and women should never mix with one another, but we're saying is that you should be well trained going into it. You should have developed good character going into it, be virtuous going into it, be knowledgeable going into it. And then there's a period in your life, a good long stretch where sexuality is there, but hopefully that you're engaging with it from a much better platform.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not as whimsical as we've created it.
No, we just leave the whole thing wide open. It's just like, when you're even just like we were saying the other day, even when you're just little kids, or where do you meet someone from that? Well, you meet them in the bar with
you're gonna meet some
the
high
dark place where everybody's getting drunk.
caliber men in a bar.
That's the place where we go to meet one another. Really? That's what you came up with? That's what your society produced? That's a healthy way to go about this? Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Linda, ever meet somebody in a bar, Linda?
Of course. Yes.
Looking for love in all the wrong places. That's
Yeah.
how they
Long
sing it
ago.
down in the South, right?
Well, I've been sober 27 years now, so it's
There
been a
you
long
go.
time, but
Okay, good.
Okay, we just making sure.
Just checking up on you. All right. Brahmacharis or grihastas who have taken the vow of celibacy as described above should not indulge in the following: applying powder or ointment to the eyes.
Okay, we're gonna have
What?
easy on the
What?
ointment.
Easy on my powder. Massaging the head with oil. Massaging the body with the hands. What?
That may be someone else's hands. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Seeing a woman or painting a woman's picture. What?
This is the brahmachari, right? It's like
Doesn't paint women's pictures.
yeah, you're not gonna sit there meditating on the female form and painting a picture of it. No, it's like
Eating meat. Drinking wine. Decorating the body with flower garlands. I guess maybe it was more of like a flower garlands than was more of like your own.
a common ornament.
Yeah, common ornament. Smearing scent and ointment on the body. Okay, no, in a big perfume. Coming to the yoga class with smelling like a big bouquet of flowers. Or decorating the body with ornaments. These they should give up.
We're going to simplify everything, right? Again, why? Because how it affects our thoughts. What am I thinking about when I'm putting on all of these ornaments and decorating myself? Where is it taking my thoughts?
Sure.
What is its purpose? Okay.
Yeah. If it's driving us to see ourselves merely as a sexual being, we're wrapped in a loop. Sometimes even in the name of working out. Am I working out because this body's a
Sometimes.
gift? Right. I mean, a lot of thoughtful people take everything into that. Am I working out because I want to, I want to, this body's a gift and I want to give back with it? Or do I just want to be attractive to other people? I mean, I don't think everybody's like that, but I think you can lean into that too. I
But
see
it's
myself as a
described as
sexual being now.
the primary driving force of material existence.
Sure. I think that was Freud.
It was after Prahlad. Yeah.
Prahlad, Freud. Text 13 and 14. According to the rules and regulations mentioned above, one who is twice born, namely a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, should reside in the Gurukul under the care of the spiritual master. This is the student.
Mhm.
There, they should study and learn all Vedic literatures along with their supplements in the Upanishads according to his ability and power to study. If possible, the student or disciple should reward the spiritual master with remuneration of the spiritual master requests. And then, following the master's order, the disciple should leave and accept one of the other ashrams, namely the Grihastha ashram, the Vanaprastha ashram, or the Sannyas ashram as they desire.
Okay.
It's a way to organize a spiritual society.
Yeah. This is chock full of Vedic culture here, right?
Sure.
Okay.
What do we do now?
Sorry?
What do we do now?
We don't do anything.
It's just like it's a free for all.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
goes to school, whether you want to go to school or don't go to school. Everybody doesn't appreciate their teachers in the school. Not everybody, but
Yeah.
Um,
But also what you learn in school, because now check this out. It says that it identifies the three leaders of society. The Brahman is the spiritual leader. The Kshatriya is the ruler, the political, military, justice leader. The Vaishya is the economic leader, the business owners. And it says all three of them, when they go to school, the Gurukula, which is the school of the guru, when they go to school, what are they meant to study? They're meant to study the Vedic literatures, along with their supplements, and the Upanishads.
hmm.
Now, now the Shudras, the employees, they're not required to study those in order to perform their role in society. They're encouraged to study them for their spiritual upliftment, but it's not that they necessarily need to be instructed that in school. They'll be instructed they'll be like in trade schools, in a sense. They'll be Prabhupada, the way he describes it, the way that he describes it in the commentary here is he's saying that the spiritual knowledge of the Vedas was meant to be studied by these three groups of leaders, and technology was meant to be studied by the Shudras, right? How things work.
Uh-huh.
Right. But the leaders, all leaders, not only the spiritual leaders, but all the leaders, political and economic, they all had to have a very thorough study of the spiritual teachings so that they could really develop the right spiritual values. Right?
Mm.
Now, it also says here that they're meant to study the Vedic literatures along with their supplements and the Upanishads. Right? The more that we kind of understand the progression in these literatures, the more that we kind of get what we're doing when we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Because if you go back to there's classes of Vedic followers that exist till this day, that they'll say that we were talking about this the other day, right? That the Vedas and the Upanishads, and even saying that is a little bit redundant, because the Upanishads are part of the four Vedas, right? But their flavor, their mood, the topics that they cover they're of a different mood than the other three parts of the Vedas. And so commonly we'll say the Vedas and the Upanishads as if they're different. But the Vedas and their supplements were meant to study these. But these thinkers say those are the original, those are the real books. Those are That's the breathing of God. That's the flawless, perfect knowledge. It's the highest authority. It's the most important. We agree with that. And particularly the Upanishads are the condensed spiritual teachings. And then they condense them more in the Vedanta Sutra, right? Vyasa writes the Vedanta Sutra, which is like the Upanishads are the spiritual teachings of the Vedas. The Vedanta Sutra is those teachings of the Upanishads condensed in the most tight form, 555 sutras, terse little, aphorisms. Now they would look at some of these people would look at the Mahabharata and the Puranas and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those are stories. They're nice. They teach good values. They have some good information in them, but that's not where we're going to get the most authoritative truth. But what they don't understand is that these books, the Mahabharata, which includes the Bhagavad Gita, and the Puranas, if you accept the authority of the Upanishads, then the Chandogya Upanishad calls these books, calls Mahabharata, calls Bhagavad Gita, calls the Puranas and the Srimad Bhagavatam, Panchama Veda, the fifth Veda, right? They say that these books are of the same quality. They're also the breathing of God. They're also perfect. They're just written in a different way. They're stories that everyone could, the Vedas were for the priests. The Upanishads were for these renunciant philosophers. But when you get Mahabharata, it's like everybody wants to read it, right? It's like it's spiritual wisdom blended in with entertainment in a way that's entirely enthralling, and it changed everything. It became, then the spiritual knowledge becomes like wildly popular. Everybody is tuning into it. Right?
It's like spiritual truth within a magical soap opera.
Yeah, totally captivating soap opera. And then particularly the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Bhagavad Purana, which is like one of the 18 Puranas. The Srimad Bhagavatam is written by Vyasadeva himself, the author of the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra, as a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, right? The Vedanta Sutra is like the condensed essence of the spiritual wisdom of the Upanishads, but it's so condensed you can't make any sense out of it. Even the Upanishads appear contradictory and paradoxical, and is God a person? Is God not a person? It's hard for me to figure out. They're also quite cryptic. What to speak of the Vedanta Sutras, which are still more cryptic. They require explanations. They require commentaries to understand, and therefore, different powerful teachers have written their commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra and established their lineages through them. But what the Srimad Bhagavatam is it's the author of the Vedanta Sutras and the Upanishads writing his own commentary on them. Because all the other schools are debating the nuances of it. How do we know what's right and what's wrong? What's the higher teachings? What are the less essential teachings? We understand it from the author himself. So he writes the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 verses, full of stories, but is his way of giving a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra so that we can understand them in context, so we can understand them clearly. So these aren't just stories. This is the explanation of the condensed spiritual wisdom of the Upanishads, written in story form.
Nice.
All right.
Text 12.
No.
Text 13
15.
and 14. Text 15. One should realize that in the fire, in the spiritual master, in oneself and in all living entities, in all circumstances and conditions, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, has simultaneously entered and not entered. He's situated externally and internally as the full controller of everything.
Okay. In other words, why have I been sharing all of these? This is, again, the Saint Narada, great sage Narada, explaining to the king, about all of these different social regulations and rules and codes. Why are we sharing this all? What's the purpose of it all? Where does it all lead to? How does it affect the quality of your thoughts? That by living life in this way and cultivating knowledge in this way, then you begin to realize something that's very subtle but very important and life-changing, right? That, and this is exactly what we were talking about a few minutes ago, that you begin to understand that not only am I different from God, but that in another sense, I'm one with God, and that God is in everything, and God is everywhere. And if I realize this, you see, if I'm fully convinced that God is great and we're small, that God is pure and we are impure, think of how that might, and I say that ontologically, right? Like I'm impure, like I was born impure. By nature, I was created impure. Think of how that may affect how I relate with other people. Whereas if I feel God is present everywhere, in everything and everyone is the energy of God and is spotlessly spiritually pure by nature, well, then how does that affect how I relate to everyone? And so this is saying when we follow these regulations, it's to improve the quality of our thoughts and to help us see something that we otherwise don't see when our thoughts are less evolved. And that is, when I look at fire, when I look at the guru, a person that's living and teaching a deep spiritual life, when I look at myself, when I look at every living being, including the animals, in all circumstances, in all conditions, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, means the one who penetrates, right? The one who, Vishnu has simultaneously entered and not entered. All right, he simultaneously entered it and he simultaneously not entered it. He is situated externally and internally as the full controller of everything. There's no escaping God. He's everywhere. And therefore my reverence needs to be shown everywhere. My recognition of the sacred needs to go everywhere. Why don't you read the commentary to this one, Raghunath? It's a good one.
All right. That was 15, right?
Yes.
All right. Realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's omnipresence is the perfect realization of the absolute truth to be attained through the study of Vedic literatures. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Adantara sta paramanu chayantara stam. The Lord is situated within the universe, within the heart of every living entity, and also within the atom. We should understand that whatever the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whenever the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present, he's present with all his paraphernalia, including his name, form, associates, and servants. The living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus one should understand that since the Supreme Lord has entered the atom, the living entities are also there. One must accept the inconceivable quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for no one can understand from the material point of view how the Lord is all pervasive and yet is situated in his abode, Goloka Vrindavan. This realization is possible if one strictly follows the principles, the regulative principles of the ashram, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas.
Okay, there we go. So it's saying all these principles and rigid codes, they're being laid out so that we can come to this level of understanding. All right, please continue.
He quotes Madhvacharya, one of the previous acharyas, says the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form has not entered everything, but in his impersonal form, he has entered pravishtaha. Thus, he has entered and not entered simultaneously. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita, where it says, by me in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. The Lord can defy himself. Thus, there is a variety in unity. Interesting.
There you go. Yeah, he quotes this beautiful verse from the Brahma Samhita that says, speaking of Krishna, says, in his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Now, such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. Right? So, if we look at Mahavishnu, all the universes enter into his body and then they come out of his body, right? And then if we look at Kshirodakshai Vishnu, he enters into every atom within every universe. So all of the universes exist in him, and he exists in every atom of the universe. He's inside everything. He's outside everything.
It's inconceivable.
It's inconceivable. So think about that today, and that will definitely improve the quality of your thoughts. I think we're out of time there, Raga.
That's it. All right. Linda, what are your final takeaways of your final
takeaway.
day?
I think we need a
Better
little
be
more
good.
volume, Linda, too.
Okay.
If you can crank that up.
Let me see if I can do that simultaneously. I think I've got a few good ones today for my
All right.
final takeaway. So Krishna refines us to purify us.
He refines us to purify us. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't disconnect the rules from their purpose.
Then you've just missed the whole thing.
Mhm.
The yoga mat is just the doormat.
I like that. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was from Andrea K on the chat. So
Thank you,
But
Andrea.
I thought I said that too, though.
Okay.
Oh,
maybe
I said that. I want to take credit for that.
Maybe
one.
so. Maybe so, Prabhu. Apologies.
Okay, it's 2 points Kastuba, 1 point Andrea K, and 0 for Raghunath. Let's go.
External things don't offer true happiness.
That's right.
True
yeah.
True self-realization creates equal vision.
Mm-hmm.
It creates some type of happiness, but just not a lasting
Yeah.
happiness.
But it's
We wouldn't be doing it if it didn't make
Paltry.
us happy.
paltry. It's not the real happiness.
It is paltry.
It's paltry.
Proper
That's what-
training improves the quality of our thoughts.
That's
Does.
Relate to others knowing everything and everyone is the energy of God.
Right. Oh, there you go.
And don't
Mhm.
get caught up in the glue trap of illusion.
Oh,
The glue trap. That's a good one. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And thanks, Linda, for taking over Mara's place. Mara is back. I'm going to go pick her up in the airport today.
What time
Go
she
thank my
coming in?
mom. She just went down to breakfast. I got to go have breakfast with her now. Sit with her whole gang. She's got a whole gang of old ladies.
I want you to
she
spend a
lives
little time with Lolita down there,
with. Will do.
and I want you to bring her to the Bhakti Center.
No way.
And to the donut plant.
These women can barely walk.
Take them out, Raghunath. They need to
It
get
was
out.
like walking my mom downstairs. That itself is a project.
They need to get out, Raghunath. And this,
You
you know, she's not going to have so many more chances. Lolita needs to see Radha Murlidhar.